I'm joined by CNN Senior Political Commentator, Scott Jennings. Brother, welcome. Great to see you.
Honor to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I want to say this. It's a shocker to me that I would ever have a CNN political commentator on the Give Me Liberty podcast, but I am so grateful it is actually you.
Yeah.
I admire what you do. I admire you being a conservative voice and really a minority voice at the network, but I've long respected the network. I remember the old days when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I remember the Gulf War.
Yeah.
And I remember CNN. That was the first time my family ever turned on CNN, and we watched Lou Dobbs for years. And sadly lost him a few years ago. But and I'm just grateful to have you on and appreciate all of your work.
Yeah, I share your reverence for CNN. I grew up watching it.
Yeah.
You know, when big things happen, people turn on CNN. They have my entire life. And I think lately what we've been doing with the 10 o'clock show, the News Night with Abby Phillip, which I appear on several nights a week, is we're bringing debating back to cable television. There's really no other show like it. A lot of cable is just people sitting around agreeing, which is super boring in my opinion. We're having an actual debating show. It's the only show like it, and it's working. The ratings are good. Everywhere I go, people who love me and people who don't love me, they all say the same thing. We love the debates.
Yeah.
There's a hunger for debates, and I think CNN deserves a lot of credit for platforming it because it's the best chance I think we as conservatives have out there right now to have a direct confrontation.
Yes.
With the liberal arguments, the liberal narratives of the day, and you know, I score a few points out there on the issues of the day. It's a good thing. The country was founded on debate. Mm-hmm. Debates are good, and CNN sort of platforming this, I think they deserve a ton of credit.
They do, absolutely. I'll tell you, you've got a lot of fans at Liberty who watch you, and I've had people share with me some of your content, and I really appreciate that. You're also launching a show on Salem. That
is correct. On Monday the 14th, 2 o'clock, it'll be an hour show every day, Monday through Friday, 2 to 3, right after Charlie Kirk, right before Hugh Hewitt. It's not a very subtle name. It's just called The Scott Jennings Show. And we're going to have some guests. My first guest actually is House Speaker Mike Johnson.
Yep.
Who's coming on, which is excited. And
by the way, a Liberty professor, or former Liberty professor, he taught online adjunct for us for like a decade.
Oh, that's great.
In the School of Government. Yeah.
I love Mike Johnson. Magic Mike. I mean, this guy's pulled a lot of rabbits out of a lot of hats for President Trump, including on the big, beautiful bill. We're going to talk about how that came about, but also what's next, for the Republicans. So we're going to have great guests. I got Coach Bruce Pearl from Auburn coming on this week.
I love Bruce Pearl.
Who is, I think, one of the most outspoken conservatives in sports. Total backbone on that guy.
Yeah.
Maybe he has politics in his future. We'll see. So I think great guests, great conversation. We'll take some calls. I'm going to play some clips of some folks on the left and maybe do a little bit on the show what I do at night on CNN, which is take down some of the narratives.
Yes. Okay. I do have to ask this. Behind the scenes, CNN, what's it like?
Well, for the commentators that work there and the people that have been there a long time, I'll just tell you, my two best friends at the network are David Axelrod and Van Jones.
Okay.
I love them both like brothers. We've traveled together. We spent a lot of time together. I think they're good faith guys. Mm-hmm. I don't agree with them on a lot of issues, but I will say, I respect them. David has experience. Van, I think, is one of the most thoughtful people on the left and in media today. Mm-hmm. And I admire them because they will tell their own team things they don't want to hear. Mm-hmm. That's a hard thing to do.
It is.
But I think it makes a good pundit or a good commentator when you're willing to do that. Like Axe was one of the first people sounding the alarm, like Joe Biden's not fit for office.
Wow, yeah.
Van Jones has been, I think, courageous in his stance on Israel.
Yes.
And he takes a lot of flack for that. So I admire these guys, and we personally love each other. So it's a family. We do have some heated arguments, and I won't say that we all, are going over to each other's house for Thanksgiving dinner. But you should know these are good faith debates, and a great rule of punditry is when it's over, it's over. You can't take it personally.
Right. I appreciate that. And by the way, I reflect the same sentiment about Van Jones. He has said a few things that are very inconvenient to the left, but are truthful. I will say when the transition of power happened, and famously when President Trump came back into office, what he said about just imagine the moment, what we thought maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I had many people whispering in my ear, conservatives, it's all over.
Yeah.
The courts have this. There is no way that you'll see the political resurrection of Donald Trump, and how wrong they were. And I love them all. Sheepishly, they've all kind of come back and said, okay, no, we were wrong. But Van Jones was the first to say, look, he's a brilliant man.
Yeah.
You cannot take that away from him. And then I agree with you also, Governor Huckabee, who's a former fellow with the Freedom Center, currently ambassador to Israel, to see them both agree on what's happening right now with Intifada and with Palestine and with this the war, obviously, with Iran, to see them agree on that, I've appreciated the truthfulness and honesty there.
Well, the anger for Israel and the hatred for Jewish people, I think, that is emanating from the left right now. I mean, when Van Jones or anyone on the left speaks up, there's a congressman in New York, Richie Torres, pretty liberal guy, but he stood up for Israel. And now they're trying to primary him. These socialists in New York are trying to primary him. It takes a lot of backbone to stand up to that kind of heat, and I admire that they've done it. Governor Huckabee, you mentioned him. I just saw him. I was in Israel when the war started. I was traveling through Israel. The war started. I was on the banks of the Sea of Galilee the night that it started, and got trapped there for several days while the missiles were flying. But I saw Mike Huckabee and talked to him, and I was thinking to myself, there's not a more qualified ambassador for Israel for the United States than this man at this moment.
Yeah.
He's been going there since the early 70s. He loves Israel. He loves the people. He knows the history. This was like the most perfect pick. And so when you have something high stakes going on, like a war, peace in the Middle East, having Huckabee there in the middle of it, inspired pick by Trump.
100% agree. A man of faith, obviously, and, served in political office, ran for the highest office in the country, and he understands really what's at stake.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You have a book coming out.
Yes.
I wanted to talk a little bit about this. This is, what's the title? What is it?
The book is called A Revolution of Common Sense, which is a phrase you may remember from President Trump's inaugural. When he said that, it jumped off the page to me, rung in my ears. I thought that is the most brilliant way to describe the political movement that he's leading. Yes, he's the head of the Republican Party. Yes, he's the head of the conservative movement. But he often says, there's a lot of people who don't consider themselves right or left, but just consider themselves to be common sense. That's what he's built. That's why he was able to win the national popular vote. So I had this idea for a book. I pitched him on it in February. He agreed. Called the book A Revolution of Common Sense, How Donald Trump Stormed into Washington and Fought for Western Civilization. I spent some time with him, interviewed a lot of the cabinet, spent some time with his senior staff. So the book is kind of a combination of my observations, my interviews, just my analysis of what he's been able to accomplish over the first, 100 plus days of the administration. A little farther than that, actually. And it comes out November the 18th. You can go on Amazon or wherever you get your books. Type in A Revolution of Common Sense. You can buy it today. Buy as many as you want.
Yeah.
We'll print more. Make a great Christmas gift.
Fantastic. I know many of our viewers and listeners will love that.
Thank you.
Let me just say this. There's a clear vibe shift going on. I mean, we're here at Turning Point.
Yep.
You got young people. The highest percent turnout of a conservative, in a conservative election where you actually have a popular vote winner, a Republican who won the popular vote. That hasn't happened since 2004. There's clearly a shift going on.
Yeah.
It's not can't be easily explained by demographics. I mean, there's a mind shift. It's the same people. There's a mind shift going on with this younger generation, where they have been probably scolded by the left for far too long. They've been ostracized, there's division, and there's fatigue. People are tired of it. They're sick of it. What do you see this as?
I also see one other thing. A lot of young people today that I think are among the most conservative are the ones who lived through COVID.
Yeah.
They lived through the left closing their schools. They lived through the left robbing them of their childhoods and of their teenage years and maybe of their college years. I mean, we warned them, you better open the schools.
Yes.
They wouldn't listen. They kept the schools closed, and now the young people are conservative, and they're mad.
Yeah.
And I think that was a formative thing for them to see exactly what the left is willing to do to you. I mean, there's been no reckoning yet for the generation of children that we destroyed with those school closures, long past the moment when we knew the truth. So I think a lot of people came out of that, and a lot of parents came out of that feeling far more conservative and far more emboldened to fight. Because they saw how government and society could so quickly rob you of your freedom, rob you of your education, rob you of your future. It was shocking, actually. But I also think the scolding, I also think just trying to force people to believe this sort of uncommon nonsense. If we're common sense, they're uncommon nonsense. But they have picked a bunch of fringe cultural issues. They want to die on all these hills.
Yeah.
And they want everybody else to die up there with them. And people are sick of it. And so when Trump got elected, I think it was like taking a wet blanket off the country.
Yeah.
Everybody can be honest again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't have to believe that words have meanings they don't have. We don't have to believe there's 72 genders.
Right.
You know, we don't have to believe that talent and work ethic are less important than identity politics.
Yes.
We can now just get back to common sense because that's what most Americans believe. So that was one of the great revelations of Trump's win, is that it created, I think, a permission structure for people to just sort of finally take a, exhale and say, okay, we don't have to go through this charade anymore.
Yeah.
And I think young people were feeling the yoke of that.
Yes.
They're throwing it off right now.
Do you think the age of, and this is kind of a trope, but compassionate conservatism, I love compassion because I'm a Christian, but I believe in the biblical definition. But I often thought it was cowardly conservatism. It was the kind of one that kind of made apologies, for a lot of things, for being conservative, that we were not willing to sort of stake our flag in the ground and say, look, it might be unpopular today, but one day you're going to know we were right about this. And it seemed like for a while, compassionate conservatism was more or less meandering over to the left.
So I write about this in the book a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Because look, my first campaign was Bush in 2000. I worked in the Bush White House. So I've been on the journey here with the Republican Party.
Yes.
And I think every president, every nominee for their party, they have their own specific way of branding their party and their movement in the moment. I think that branding was authentic to President Bush, and I understood the utility of it in the moment. I think it met his ethos as a man. I think he's a moral person.
Yeah.
And I do think he's a compassionate person. So it met his branding, and it worked. He won the national popular vote in 2004. I think when Trump decided to run on the idea of common sense, that was his branding of the party. I think you raise a valid point about, is compassionate conservatism like, well, we're trying to convince the left that we're not evil. By 2024, it was pretty obvious. They thought we were evil.
Yeah.
They're out here calling us Hitler, fascists, Nazis. And so they weren't interested in a conversation about compassion. And so I think what Trump did was expertly change the branding of the party to this common sense branding, which had appeal to me as a conservative, but I think had appeal to a bunch of people who don't consider themselves to be political at all.
Yes.
So he winds up building a much larger movement. A lot of these people don't vote often, maybe ever, but they were attracted to common sense because they thought they were living through something totally different under the Biden years. I think this branding works for the moment. Now, in 2028, when we have another nominee,
Sure.
they'll probably have their own spin on it.
Right.
And, we'll see where the culture is at that time.
Yeah.
But I really have been counseling a lot of Republican candidates lately. Lean into common sense.
Yes.
That's what we're doing. We're encouraging work over welfare. We're encouraging low taxes. We're encouraging strong borders. These are common sense things.
Yes.
We're encouraging girls to play against girls and boys to play against boys. I mean, we're encouraging that, federal laws be enforced, as we're doing right now in California.
Yes.
These are common sense positions. You can run just about everything under the banner of common sense. It'll work. It'll work.
I agree. Final question, faith. What is the role of faith for you in your daily work, being a truth teller as a kind of a minority voice in that situation? Yeah.
Well, I think I'm the conservative or Republican analyst on CNN, but I come from middle America. I live in Kentucky. And I often think that the way we process the news, the way we process our culture and our values, people who are living in Washington, New York and working in the media, they're just out of touch with it. So part of my job is to translate from middle America. And often that means translating on the role of faith and values in our lives and standing up for people. I mean, I think, look, you can look around mainstream media and see plenty of folks who want to make fun of people of faith, denigrate our values, denigrate, what it means to get up and go to church on Sunday and believe wholeheartedly in Jesus Christ as our Savior,
Man.
And so it's either they're going to make fun of it, they're going to denigrate it, they don't understand it, they have no grounding in it. So sometimes I get a chance to sort of speak on behalf of people of faith and say, well, here's why someone would believe that, because their faith instructs them to do so, or their value structure born out of their faith dictates that they do so. What enrages me, honestly, it has happened this week. A lot of people on the left like to selectively use faith when they want to, a cherry pick of, an issue and try to throw faith back in your face.
Right.
And they're doing it to grind a political axe, which is not the purpose of religion, not the purpose of faith. But it happens. And so when they do that, I don't think I'm going to be taking too many pot shots from folks on, issue A when you're the party of, unlimited abortion or,
right.
Other cultural nonsense that we've all lived through. So that does anger me a little bit because I think it's actually sort of a, when you're trying to cherry pick religion to grind an axe on a certain issue, I actually think it's kind of, it's hateful actually to do that. I don't think that's born out of a faithful place. I think it's born out of a hateful place when folks do that. But anyway, I try to defend people of faith because I grew up in a faithful area, middle of the country, Kentucky. People strongly believe in their faith, whether they're Catholics or not. My wife's Catholic. She's a big Catholic family. My family's all Baptist and other things. But we all believe what we believe, and we deserve a chance to believe that free from the kind of being made fun of or being looked down upon or condescended to that you get in the mainstream media.
That's right. That's right. Well done. I appreciate so much what you're doing. Look forward to the book and obviously the new show.
Yes.
That's incredible. Kentucky Colonel? Are you a Kentucky Colonel?
Yes. I'm constantly on alert, preparing for the invasion of Indiana.
Yes.
Or Tennessee. Whenever we get pressed into service, I'll be ready.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're one. I assume you are.
That was my last day in Kentucky. Okay. Matt Bevin made me a colonel.
Good.
So I can be conscripted. If you need me, just let me know.
Yes.
Call in for backup.
We're warning the Hoosiers.
Yes.
We're literally right across the river. We're ready. Fighting force.
Well, Scott Jennings, thank you so much for joining the Give Me Liberty podcast. Honored to have you on.
Thanks very much.
Hey, did you find this helpful? I hope you did. Please like and subscribe, share with a friend, and also go to standingforfreedom.com where you can find more content, articles, podcasts, and our Theology of Politics series, all at standingforfreedom.com.